You've heard of Rome, you've heard of Egypt, you've heard of Persia and China. But there was once an empire so powerful, so wealthy, so strategically placed that ancient writers ranked it among the greatest powers on earth. And yet today, most people have never heard its name. No movies, no school chapters, no legends passed down. This is the story of the Aksumite Empire, one of the most important empires you were never taught about. Nearly 2,000 years ago, in the Horn of Africa, a city rose to prominence. Its name was Aksum. At its peak, Aksum controlled territory stretching across modern-day Ethiopia, Eritrea, parts of Sudan, and southern Arabia. But Aksum's true power wasn't its land. It was its position. Aksum sat at the crossroads of the ancient world, between the Mediterranean, the Middle East, India, and Africa. Every major trade route passed through its influence. Ivory, gold, spices, silk. If goods moved between empires, Aksum took a share. While most people today don't know Aksum, the ancient world absolutely did. Roman merchants traded with Aksumite ports. Roman coins have been found deep inside Aksumite territory. In fact, a 3rd century Persian scholar listed 4 great powers of the world: Rome, Persia, China, and Aksum. Not as a minor kingdom, as an equal. That alone should raise a question. How does an empire powerful enough to stand beside Rome simply vanish from our memory? Aksum was not primitive. It built massive stone monuments, towering obelisks carved from single blocks of granite. Some stood over 20 meters tall. No mortar, no modern tools, just precision engineering. Aksum also minted its own gold, silver, and bronze coins, a privilege only the most powerful states possessed. This was a literate empire, a bureaucratic empire, a global one. Yet, it left surprisingly little behind. In the 4th century CE, Aksum made a decision that changed its identity forever. It adopted Christianity, not gradually, not partially. Aksum became one of the first officially Christian empires in the world, even before Rome. Churches were built. Crosses appeared on coins. The empire aligned itself with a new spiritual order. For a time, this strengthened Aksum's position, but it also tied its fate to shifting religious and political currents far beyond its borders. Then, slowly, the world began to move. Trade routes shifted. The rise of Islamic powers transformed the Red Sea and Arabian trade networks. Ports that once enriched Aksum lost relevance. Merchants went elsewhere. Aksum's coastal access weakened. Its influence shrank inland. There was no single invasion, no final battle, no dramatic collapse, just decline. What makes Aksum truly strange is how it disappeared. Cities weren't violently destroyed. Records don't end suddenly. They just thin out. Coins stop appearing. Foreign mentions fade. The capital loses prominence. Power moves southward into the Ethiopian highlands. Aksum didn't fall loudly. It faded quietly. And history, distracted by louder empires, didn't look back. So why isn't Aksum taught in schools? Because history has blind spots. European historians focused on Rome and Greece. Middle Eastern histories focused on caliphates. African empires were rarely centered, even when they shaped the global economy. Aksum didn't conquer Europe. It didn't write history in Latin. It didn't leave behind epics glorifying itself. So it slipped through the cracks, not because it didn't matter, but because it didn't fit the story we tell about the ancient world. When Aksum faded, the world lost. A major African maritime power, a bridge between civilizations and a written tradition that still isn't fully understood. We lost evidence of how interconnected the ancient world truly was. And perhaps more importantly, we lost the reminder that history is selective. Some empires are remembered forever. Others disappear, not because they were weak, but because no one preserved their story. Aksum's disappearance carries a warning. Empires don't always collapse in fire and blood. Sometimes they decline quietly, trade by trade, city by city, record by record. And when they do, history doesn't mourn them. It forgets them. The Aksumite Empire once stood beside Rome and Persia. Now, most people have never heard its name, not because it was insignificant, but because history chose not to remember it. And if an empire that powerful can vanish from memory, what else has history decided to leave out? This is History Unmasked, uncovering the stories history tried to bury